All right, guys, another episode of the live optimization panel. So this is number 4 for plantaddicts.com with Chris and Richard. How's it going?
We're doing great.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
So we have some of our usual panelists here, Lori, Robert, and Justin, and of course myself. Mark, I don't think he's going to make it. And we'll see. Maybe he's going to be able to join in a few minutes, but I think he had something come up with his kids or something happened. So we might not have Mark on the call, but I think Justin's going to be happy because, there's fewer people on the panel. And so we're going to have more time for each. Awesome. So why don't we start with just, Chris and Richard talking a little bit about yourself and your store and just giving us a bit of an intro. Let's start there.
Sure. So we started this just as a side job 3 years ago. I guess almost 4 years ago now. And we're working just part-time after our full-time day jobs until last fall. And recently took the plunge and working on this full-time now. So, we thought we were going to be taking some off of our plates by doing that, but I think we've been busier than ever this last 6 months trying to get geared up for our busy season, which is in full force right now. So our backgrounds are both in SEO. I've been doing SEO and e-commerce for the past a good 12 years. I managed SEO for Hay Needle and Oriental Trading Company. And Richard, you've been doing SEO for what, 6 years now?
Yeah, something around there. 2 different companies.
Yep. So you worked with me at Oriental Trading and then at another company, a smaller website that we both worked for a little bit as well. So strong background in SEO, and that's kind of been our strength as a company. We get quite a bit of traffic to our website through plant care articles. So we'll get hopefully around 12 million people to the site this year, with the majority of that being through organic free traffic. The other main traffic driver is paid advertising, and we're really just dabbling into that. We hired a friend of ours to manage it for us, and that's going well. But I think there's still room to improve with that too as we get going in the next few weeks. Things really ramp up.
Just curious, what's the percentage of you talking about? Organic traffic versus paid. What's the percentage that you're getting in organic?
Last year is over 90%. I'd say it'll probably be 70% this year.
Isn't that amazing what you can achieve with SEO when you have good content and, something good for your market, for your audience? That's amazing. Yep. So why don't we go then for the panelists here? Let's do a bit of an intro, starting with Justin, then Lori, and Robert.
My name is Justin Ehrenstein, CTO Mobile First. We really focus on helping businesses grow through site optimization, focusing on the mobile platform. Notice something like 60% of your traffic's mobile. So I'll be looking at that as well as some of your organic articles. Great job. I was looking at your blog. It's full and it's really well done. So good work there.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
Lori, go ahead. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that.
Just
if I leave it open, of course, one of the barkaholics must reply, and the gardener's supposed to come by and get some more money. So I know the doorbell's going to ring at some point. Anyway, so I actually just so Redline Minds is an e-commerce focused agency. I started. It's actually kind of cool. My background, I started out designing an online brokerage, which E-Trade, the company I worked for, went under and deserved to go under. But E-Trade kind of took what we did and really developed it into what, I wish I could say I helped found E-Trade. I didn't. So that's kind of neat. And that's where I started, was on the content and the web. And I'm really not a developer. I can do enough to screw things up and minor stuff. But here, about 6 years ago, I guess we're going on 6 years, I my partners and I were working for a company that was doing $320 million with a third of that as profit, and they blew up their supply chain. And one of the advantages to working for a VP is that I knew it even when the rest of the staff didn't. So we started to plot our escape. And after 3 startups in a row that were just incredibly badly managed, decided it made more sense to set up an agency and work for multiple firms and spread the risk. And so nobody who hasn't done it understands why I thought self-employment was less risky than employed. But for what I do, I don't know that it's less risky, but it's a lot more satisfying and a lot more interesting to work with a lot of different firms. Excuse me. So I've been doing this now more than 2 decades. I guess technically started with content, marketing, advertising, and SEO. Used to build sites by literally cutting and pasting what I wanted and handing it to a developer. And of course that's matured. So now my areas, number one, we build great sites. We optimize sites. We do some marketing services. We're really coming on strong with email marketing, and we also do some SEO. So that's in bot marketing, little weird niche stuff. We don't do any advertising anymore. So that's us.
Awesome. Thank you, Lori. Robert?
Hey everybody, Robert Portillo, Nimbus Marketing, based here in Los Angeles. We help our clients with search engine optimization and conversion rate optimization.
Oh, short and sweet. You have the Lori approach and you have the Robert approach. Awesome. Just a little bit about myself. I am focused mostly on e-commerce user experience, so helping e-commerce brands to increase their conversion rate by improving the user experience. So I'm not focused on ads or anything that comes before the traffic landing on the website. I don't know enough. I do not know enough to screw it up, like Lori said. I wish I did, but it's just not my expertise. So let's start doing a deep dive now. We can ask all the questions that we need to Chris and Richard. They're there with us right now, so they can answer questions live. That's awesome. So Justin, Lori, Robert, go ahead. The floor is yours. Or Chris, Richard, if you want to share something as well, go ahead. Basically, you have the room for yourselves.
No, don't hold back. It won't hurt our feelings if something's not looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did take some notes already, but I want to give you, the other panelists a chance to talk a lot more, and I can share my notes at the end. I mean, I'm more of the host than one of the panelists here, and I can share my notes after. So go ahead, guys.
Yeah, so I think what you guys are doing with organic search is really interesting. Really looking at some of the plants that you guys are ranking for. I see your articles are on the first page of the organic rankings. Your traffic really shows the hard work you've put into that. So I think it's amazing. I think the one thing that I really picked up on looking at your Google Analytics was your conversion rates for organic search landing on articles. So the top 10 pages are like, we're talking hundredths of a percent or less. And so you're doing like the hard part that most brands cannot do. Most brands can't find an audience and then rank. So now you're getting people to the site. Now you get to do the fun part, at least in my eyes, the easy part, and that's getting it to convert. And like, I think you probably already know that, and that's why you're here, but that's how like I'm kind of framing this. So people that are, my assumption is people who are using organic search are probably higher up in the funnel. They're not necessarily in the buying process. They're not, hey, I want to buy a hydrangea right now. I want to know, how do I plant hydrangeas? Because maybe I already have them, and maybe next year I'll buy from you guys. And so there's kind of multiple parts to this, and kind of thinking of it in the funnel process. But like, how do you turn those people into a lead? How do you get people into the next step of the buying process and get them further down into the funnel? And there's a couple different tactics and experiments that I recommend running. things like collecting emails and being able to figure out, I think I saw Lori had a really great comment about like, what's your grow zone? Being able to collect emails and actually have some sort of personalization within that email of like, hey, you're interested in hydrangeas because that's the article type, and here's your grow zone, and we can build a 5 email kind of thing around that that's semi-personalized. But then also within the article, getting people down into the right products, really having product links as a part of the article and getting them further into the funnel, I think is really important. I think if I were me, like, and I ran this business and you hired me, I would see the amount of traffic you have and say, whoa, that is where the opportunity is. If I can get that to, right now it's like, we're talking 0.02% of conversion rate, I'd be looking at pulling that up on my mobile phone because I'm seeing 60% of the traffic's there, and figuring out, okay, how do I get more links into that article so they're further down that funnel? Or if they're not ready to buy, how do I get them so they're part of my net? Whether that's through retargeting, social retargeting, or email. It's kind of my first like big picture. I'm not gonna like say take up all the air in the room, but really big picture.
You know, building on what Justin just said, so thank you for giving us Google Analytics access. So one of the reports a lot of people don't look at is the assisted conversions or the multi-channel funnel reports. And the good news is your organic search is actually contributing to almost double the traffic as it is last click. Do you understand what that difference is, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, well, because I know you're an SEO, so I assume you're pretty good at reading what's happening in Google Analytics. For other people who may be watching it, I didn't look at your full metrics for the site, but it's really very normal for somebody to visit a site multiple times before they make a purchase. And the way Google credits a conversion is it's the last click other than direct. So that's why you'll see email, for example, getting credit in Google Analytics for a sale when we know they have to somehow have interacted with your brand to be on your email list. So email is really a retention marketing kind of technique. And yeah, based on what we know already, I think you could do a lot more with your email marketing to help really engage and grow your audience. One of the neat things about the organic traffic you have is this is all functioning to brand yourselves as experts, and that adds into the entire thing, both in terms of brand awareness and in terms of trust.
Yeah, Laura, you mentioned to segment our emails out from zip codes or growing zones. How would you go about doing that?
Well, you'd ask anybody you don't have. I mean, if they're already on your customer list, you have that information. And you could be really direct on the form. You know, let us send information that helps your yard be more beautiful. What's your zip code? And then use that, you know, along with setting up. And then, because like I'm in Austin, Texas, it doesn't do me a whole lot of good to show me plants that aren't going to survive here. So, you know, or drought tolerant. You could even give people some subject line matters as you grow and expand on that type of marketing so that you're sending people exactly the information they want. And of course, every email is then shared with products so that you're keeping people engaged with your brand. And that's going to make you their primary choice, short of going up the street and buying things that'll die soon from Home Depot. So,
Lori, how many questions are okay to ask on like an email capture?
Generally, I try to keep it short and sweet. It's kind of a double-edged sword because, and this is why, for example, an email pop should never pop instantly because people don't know yet if they want your email. So, especially when you're looking at your traffic. And by the way, you can set up different pops based on what pages they're on, so that even your message to get them in your funnel is unique. But I would keep it to a minimum, and then you could always follow up with more questions within your email chain, within your welcome chain, because the goal is to really get them in the funnel, and then nurture it going forward.
Okay, makes sense. Chris, what's the pop-ups time frame? Is it after they're on like the second page or third page or something?
We do it different for desktop and mobile. Desktop, it's on exit intent. So as you scroll up to the very top of the screen, that's when it pops up. On mobile, I believe it's page 2 was the winner of the test we did, instead of like a 60-second time delay.
Are those pretty standard for what we have set up there?
Are you asking me or the experts?
Yeah, the experts.
It sounded like you'd done some testing. I'm not a fan of exit intent for signups as much as to get them to purchase, because that's just. But everything's testable. I mean, that my preference does not necessarily equate to what works best for your audience.
We've done a little bit of testing. I wouldn't say it's enough to say, yeah, we're not going to try anything else.
I would look at that second page, especially looking at your organic landing pages, because I'm seeing bounce rates relatively high. So I think a lot of your users are never even seeing that.
Yeah.
I agree that initial pop-up is tough for a lot of different reasons, unless you have an offer to go with it. And I've seen that be really effective, 15% off your first order.
Okay.
You guys might even get away with little ebooks if they're interesting enough and you don't want to give out a cash discount, especially and this is where it's good to test, and you may find different results on a product view land versus an article. You know, for an article, somebody's still higher up in the funnel. So you might be able to give them some great information like a planting guide for their zone or you know, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but again, something that enhances your expertise, but that's actually useful. You know, like we had a site and she goes, I don't want to give out discounts. I said, you're selling gourmet items and you have a blog full of recipes. How about putting together a small cookbook? And that turned out to be the winner for her, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I did look it up. We're at 40-second time delay, Justin. So that must have been the winner instead of the page 2. I got it backwards.
So let me just ask you then. I didn't see the actual pop-up on the site when I was browsing. So what is there an offer in there already? What does it say?
It says join Plant Addicts Anonymous for free today. We'll send you plant information, garden quotes, and exclusive offers directly to your inbox.
And Matt, you didn't get the pop-up because you're in Canada, and I think we don't collect email addresses outside of the U.S.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
I wanted to buy a plant for my igloo.
Trying to keep our Clavio costs down.
Yeah, them Canadians wasting your money.
You just have to drive over the border to buy and illegally smuggle it back up.
Yeah,
that's smuggling. Is that a thing actually? Is there a market for black market for plants?
I don't know. I remember I went to Canada once and they wouldn't let me take potatoes over the border, so I'm guessing a live plant's going to be a no-go.
Yeah.
As far as smuggling plants, that's been going on in and out of the U.S. for years. It's just not the kind they're selling.
Yeah, different kind of plants.
I didn't think about that, Lori. That's a good point.
Sorry, I'm an old hippie chick. Robert. You got to say something here.
How's it going? I'm a little late to the game. I've been so swamped, so I'm just doing some analysis right now, looking at some things. I've noticed Ahrefs is showing that your total traffic has dropped pretty significantly since January. And I assume your business is seasonal to some extent?
Yeah, it's extremely seasonal, so we're just getting to our busy season right now.
Yeah, and I'm just curious about the traffic drop of like 180. This is Ahrefs, of course. It's not, from your actual analytics or whatever, but your Search Console. But 180,000 visits a month estimated down to 140,000 as you're approaching the busier season, right? I would assume is right now.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think we've experienced a traffic drop. I look at SEMrush pretty close every day, and our keywords have been going up pretty steady.
Yeah, I see your total organic keywords have been continuing to rise, and like Justin said, just really good job. You've got a great amount of traffic and traffic value here. Just looking at the page, I mean, for me, you guys are so far, advanced compared to a lot of the companies that we've worked with, and also we've done these live optimizations with. The biggest thing that stands out to me is kind of a branding issue. When I look at the page, it doesn't have like the polish that it could have. I've seen wonders worked with branding companies, and if you guys can afford a branding package, I highly recommend it. It can go a long way towards kind of bringing things together. I just see kind of it's a nice looking site. Don't get me wrong. It's clean. You have a lot of white space. I like how at the top you have discover the plant addicts difference. But just everything feels just a little off to me. Like some of the fonts are really big and some are small. It looks like in some cases the fonts might be different in some places, and it all kind of lends to kind of a lack of a cohesive brand for me. So that's just what I'm seeing. Like that's the biggest impression that I have. Your logo's really big compared to most sites that I see, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Your search bar is kind of in a weird place. Like I'd prefer to see it in the middle. Maybe you've tested that. I don't know. And because it kind of competes with the enter the zip code to find the growing zone, which is in a weird place. That was my first thing when I started looking through your menu. I'm looking like, oh, zones. Okay. But I have no idea what this zone is. Right. So it seems like for me, you might want a menu item that, says, hey, see your zones or something like that. Just to kind of, I'm kind of into gardening, but I'm not like a hardcore gardener. So this was the first time I really, started digging into these zones. And I see one of your top 10 pages is the zone map that you have. Mm-hmm. And that page too, I feel like you could just make it, look a little cleaner. It's not terrible, but again, just kind of.
It's definitely not great.
Yeah, it just doesn't have the look, right, that I've seen on some gardening sites. But it's really hard to, make any criticism, considering how well you're doing with your traffic and rankings. The button up there where it says submit, I have a thing against submit as a CTA button. I would put, enter or search or anything but submit. It just kind of has a negative connotation, to it. So for me, I would the header seems a little bigger than it needs to be. I feel like if you kind of, rethought how it's laid out, you could make it a little more compact, maybe 40% more compact. And that would give more space for the actual, above the fold viewport. I'm not sure that, the plant addicts difference section. Have you tested this, by the way, the discover the plant addicts difference, as opposed to, having kind of a staggered grid size with your actual top sellers or something, and you could still keep this? Have you tried any variations of this headline or this value proposition area?
No, we haven't. We just updated it from a pretty ugly image that kind of had the same information. So it's improved from that, but we have not tested this against like a big, nice lifestyle image or something like that.
Yeah, I would definitely, that would be one of the first things I test is, I know, you're probably ranking, a lot of sub pages and maybe not getting a ton of traffic to your homepage. At least I don't see it in the top 10. I don't see it anywhere in like the top 50 actually. But still, people do bounce back to the homepage a lot. Mm-hmm. So I would consider, just maybe, testing a more traditional, Ecom site layout, like I don't know, I'm not sure. I have working right now with a client building something that has I'll look it up and get back to you, but it's a grid layout where there's, a larger image where you can put your value proposition or, introduce your company, and then, kind of some staggered size panels around the side. That's doing pretty well for some of our clients. I would consider putting a little, maybe a drop shadow on the pictures. I don't know. It's not a huge deal, but again, like I keep going back to the branding. When I look at the logic of your homepage, just the way that it's the sections are structured, and the kind of thinking about how they match the psychological purchase process, it's actually pretty good. I like that you're introducing what makes you different, and then you're talking about selling plants for spring. I mean, you have beautiful pictures, and it doesn't get monotonous. I like how you have the pictures in the circles, and then this kind of this plants new to market. I like that. I like how it kind of it's an interrupt and very different from the rest of the page. So that's kind of cool. I would like to see more consistent CTA buttons. I see like a get in touch, a search, and a submit and they're all different sizes, different colors, and they're not like the green buttons are, slightly different shades. That also lends for me like to the overall branding and image of the site. So I'd like to see more consistent CTA buttons, sizes and colors. And then as far as your reviews go, like that's pretty cool. I know you have more than 3, so you might want to consider maybe a carousel. It's again not a big deal. I like to see your H tags more bolded, so they pop more and introduce the section a little bit better, and maybe consider making them a little bigger, so they're actual headlines. I think that might help with the user experience. And then going on to your blog pages, I see you're ranking for quite a few of these. Your top page, one of your top pages is all about hydrangeas. Have you considered offering products for sale on the actual blog pages, or are you just doing the ads on the sidebar for now?
Right now, we're right in the middle of trying to rethink basically our content strategy to do exactly what you just said, to either merchandise them better or make the experience better to get back and forth from shopping and the pieces of content. It's really not a great user experience, in my opinion, right now, getting back and forth between the two.
And I missed the analytics. Like, what is your average conversion rate?
Oh, it's not very good. It's, I think, 0.2% to 0.4% right now.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely an area that we need to improve.
And I think, I know you're like, man, that's terrible. But when I talk to brands that are heavily driven by organic search, that's not like they're gonna have lower conversion rates because you're not targeting people that are necessarily ready to buy.
Yeah.
I think where conversion rates are most important is when you're spending money through PPC, and then you really have to hit a target to remain profitable, or else you're just throwing money in the trash.
Yeah, our paid conversion's about 0.6% right now. It's been pretty consistent around that area.
So it's kind of interesting as I look, building on what Robert had started to talk about with your homepage, and before this session, as I was preparing and thinking, I was thinking that for example, your zip code enter for zone, okay, there's number one, it's disconnected from the buying process, and I think it might be better suited as a bar that's immediately underneath your navigation at the point where I'm trying to decide what to buy. I also in my mind see an interactive map where I can click on where I'm located, or it'll zoom in, and that if I click on that area, it then takes me to a pre-sorted filtered section of plants that I could plant. So I'm not even shopping for things and looking at pretty things and going, you know, I've looked at 10 plants and none of them grow in my zone. That's not particularly helpful in terms of the buying process. So, and of course, I'll be happy to share my notes with you later, because I also went into a lot of nitpicking weird stuff. Like, you have ads on your blog pages, so you're encouraging people to click off site, which is like a big no-no for e-commerce. And I know you don't make enough money off AdSense to really to offset what you're potentially losing by doing that, especially if they're on a mobile phone and you're not even picking up the exit intent email. When I look at your homepage, so it's May already, and here in Texas, we're well into spring. Spring started March 21st. So when I see pre-order plants for spring as the first entry into products, I'm thinking this site hasn't been updated. And why do I want to pre-order if I don't get it in the ground now? It's going to be too hot here for me to plant. I also, one of the things that caught my eye that I think might be worth testing higher up on the page is to shop pre-planned annual combinations, because then you're doing the thinking for me. And I like it when people do the thinking for me, because that saves me time. And if those are done correctly, they should be able to click and add to cart, you know, and I haven't actually clicked through on it, even though I looked at it, because I'm trying not to spend money on a house I don't own. If I could successfully kill the burrs in my yard, which I've been trying to do for 5 years, I'd be thrilled. But to me, that, again, it was just kind of a unique thing I'd not seen anyplace else. I think that one of, you know, anything that could help somebody make an easier choice. I mean, either, you know, that's the other question, is your audience all consumer, or are you also selling into gardeners? In which case your messaging is quite different.
We have some mostly consumers. We do have some larger, like, commercial businesses that order like big planters from us. That's been most of the commercial sales we've done so far. Okay. We haven't done a ton of huge plant orders to commercial businesses because they can probably find better pricing locally, yeah, from a nursery or something like that.
Oh, and check this out. Okay, so I don't even know how I got here. I guess I'm on the bushes page. You have shop flower colors. This is delightful. What a fun piece that is buried in your site, but totally useful. You know what I mean? So I think the whole thing the whole process could just kind of be rethought and tightened up. And yeah, I looked at this and went, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, we need to recategorize our stuff, because right now everything is like under bushes, perennials, or annuals, and we need to categorize it under all plants. So if you actually click on purple, it's going to show you all purple plants and not just purple bushes or something.
I almost wonder, and oh my God, this is a test. We would have to dive deep into your first of all, like I said, the zones, there has to be a connection with the fact that I live here and this is my zone. And interestingly enough, I'm 8B, which isn't mentioned any place except on the top right corner. You have 8 and you have 9, but what's an 8B? But I still think that you could almost set it up to shop by zone first and then into what plants grow in my area. I don't know if anybody else is doing that. It's kind of a bold suggestion, but it logically makes sense. I don't know. Justin, Robert, ideas there? Am I off base? Matt?
Well, actually, I was waiting for you to be done, but I wanted to emphasize
I'm never done.
No, I know. I'm okay with that. That's fine. Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize the idea of shopping per growing zone, because I'm assuming, and I don't know that much about plants, but I'm assuming that it's pretty important, right? I mean, if you live in Texas versus New York, it's going to be very different, the selection of plants that you can actually grow there successfully, right? So I think almost, and that was one of my notes, one of my recommendations in the document already, but almost forcing users to choose their postal code first figure or entering the growing zone if they already know it, or choosing one, and then showing them a product selection based on that. And not even, it's like car parts pretty much, right? You have a certain model and make of car. It doesn't really make sense for you to shop parts for a different type of car when, if you have a Toyota, so you're not going to shop for a Subaru, right?
Yeah.
So kind of the same experience where you ask them as a first step, hey, enter your postcode, and then we will show you a product selection that fits, that is relevant for you. And then you basically hide all the rest. They can still access it if they want to, but the main path, I think, should be limited to the products that fit their growing zone.
Yeah, the only downside I can see of doing that would be annuals, because growing zone doesn't really matter for annuals. But for the rest of the plants, I do think that that's a great user experience.
So for the annuals, you can grow them anywhere?
They die, so the growing zone is not important. You grow them for
Well,
one season, and then they die in the winter, and then you buy them again.
Okay, but they will actually still grow no matter the zone.
Some of them you can grow in your house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then houseplants. I did notice that you and Christine both tried buying houseplants in your videos. We don't have those set up yet for our website, but that will be a product offering we have. Mm-hmm. You can grow some of those annuals as a houseplant, like a coleus or something, currently. So that's what we'll be building out our selection on initially, and then we'll be adding to it. So growing zone wouldn't work for houseplants either.
Right. So yeah, okay. So I mean, users should still be able to go in the category without choosing a growing zone. But I'm thinking, even in your hero section, you could have a product finder there where you just enter your postcode, mm-hmm. and then that filters most of the products. I mean, I said, semi-force them, so it's not 100% forced. They don't have to. It's not just like one screen that has them for the postcode and doesn't show anything else. You can still navigate to all the products. But as a main path, I think if that's most of your products, then I think that would make sense.
Can I share my screen for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
So just wanted to address a couple of quick things here. You have dwarf spelled wrong right here. On other parts of the page, let's see here. Like when I look at this page here on plant care, which is really cool. You guys have an amazing amount of content here. This is like a world-class site with respect to content. I just feel like, when I start to scroll down, like you have, it just seems like this would be better if it was center aligned, like the headline, I know you might, if it's the single item or whatever, maybe you're making space for more, I'm not sure, but it just lends to an air of kind of funkiness. And then the spacing is just off. You see right here, there's like a single space, then a double space, and there's like a 6, spaces here or line breaks here. And then the spacing between this picture and the title here is different than here, and different than here, and then you're missing a line break here. So it's just like, these all, for me, like the typo, the spacing, they all add to an air of like, that for me would jeopardize my trust. I'm trying to put myself in my shoes and saying, okay, why would I choose Plant Addicts instead of just going to, Armstrong's Nursery or Home Depot? And the answer to that question would be, I want a superior plant. And that goes back to, again, your branding, right? You say nursery quality plants. I would argue that you want to position yourself as, better than nursery quality or something like that, that you're catering to somebody who's more looking for things they can't find somewhere else or looking for higher quality plants. So I would be careful about, how you're positioning yourself here, and make sure that, everything, all your spacing, you don't necessarily have to do a rebrand, but go through and make sure there's no typos. You can run it through Typosaurus or however you want to do it and find those typos, get rid of them, get all your spacing in order, make things more consistent. And then, be more specific with your differences here. When you say enormous selection, spell out the selection, over 7,842 plants.
Okay.
Keep track of it, because specificity sells. And whenever you say things like enormous selection, well, that could mean, a very different thing to you than it does to me, right? And really what you're trying to do here is position yourself as like, hey, you're going to find things here that you can't find somewhere else, either in terms of quality or exotic nature, right? So that's something to think about. And then going to your product page, I'm seeing the same thing again, just kind of some alignment issues. Like, I'm really particular about it. Like for me, I would have one of these text aligned with the picture. Again, it seems like I'm just like, splitting hairs here, but these things matter. It's like, for me, that's your biggest problem on this site is I'm not trusting you. I'm like, $65 for an azalea? So really? This thing better, smell like, I'm going to have a nosegasm or something. So, and that brings me to my next point here. You don't really have any sales copy. You're just very, robotic, like autumn, angel, encore, azalea, buy now. It's like, talk about the plant. Like this azalea blooms in, at this time of year and it smells gorgeous. Add an exotic smell to your garden that you've never smelled before. Like, get some of this. That's what sells. Descriptive copy sells, right? You're selling the sizzle, not the steak, right? That's one of the first things I learned 30 years ago when I started studying marketing. And it's you could have some of that copy here. It's not a problem. I'd be careful too about what happened here? The tabbed details here. I didn't see these at first. I was like, and I miss them all the time. There's been studies done on this, so you have to be careful. It's just weird because the eye path is over here, and then all of a sudden the tab browsing is over here. So I would align it at the very least, and I would get some of this critical information. It doesn't even talk about what zone it's in. Like if I don't scroll, which some people are lazy and they don't, they're like, I don't even know what zone this is. And now you're frustrated your user and they're not going to buy anything. They're going to leave.
Hey,
so,
Robert,
yeah.
What's the three largest things that you see on your screen right now?
The three largest things on my screen, their logo, the image, and this headline.
Okay. And number 4 is the price.
Yep. And then the price too. Yeah. And you don't want, is that what you're getting at? You don't want to make that so big.
And add to cart is hidden and then smaller than your add to wish list.
That's right.
And so the point I'm getting at is information hierarchy, which I think Robert's actually made a really good point on in terms of fonts and font sizing and things like that. But like, what do you want people to do? What information do you want them to know? How do you make that more priority, make it higher on the page, making it bigger? All right. Sorry, Robert. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, thank you. I'm glad you pointed that out because like these kinds of things slowly come to me as I look at a site. You tend to focus on certain things and try to imagine how they might be different. But he's so right. Like the biggest problem on the entire page, at least on desktop, is that add to cart button is not visible in the viewport, right? So
just a quick note, if you will allow me.
I'm done. By the way, stop sharing.
Okay. Well, would you mind actually showing it back? That was actually useful.
Mm-hmm. Sorry about that.
No worries. All right, let me put it back here. So just a quick point about the price. From the studies and the research I've seen on the size of the price, it's actually quite important to show it big enough so that people see it clearly, notice it, and don't have to look for it. So it doesn't have to be bigger than the title, but it has to be prominent enough so that you can easily notice the price, see it. Then of course, if you have discounts, there's a good advice for that. But I think both Justin and Robert nailed it. You need some better visual hierarchy, right? So the logo is probably way too big compared to the product title. The add to cart should be bigger. So all of those I agree with.
So
maybe,
one question.
Green works really well for your site colors. You might want to just make all your CTA buttons green, and then the add to wish list orange or different color. And then the other thing I forgot to add was, and then I'll let you go, Justin. I think that was you, Justin. The Plant Addicts warranty free, and then I'm like, well, what is this? And it says Plant Addicts warranty, 1 year, extra purchase required. I'm like, okay, I'm confused, and I started to read, and I gave up. I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. Like, there's a lack of continuity there. I just don't understand it. So I feel like maybe need to do a better job here. I see now, like, okay, now because I'm motivated, I look here. I would make this more clear on your, you know, like what's the extent 1 year extended warranty? How much does that add to the price? I mean, 10% additional. Okay, that's kind of weird. I would consider, you know, a flat rate or something like that, because now you're making them do math in their head, and people don't want to. People don't. I mean, I see your price adjust, but this goes back to Justin's point. Like, you want the price to be in close proximity to the add to cart, right? So, but yeah, you don't want to make them do math if at all possible. Even though but if it does auto calculate, that helps if it's closer to the add to cart button, I would think.
Okay. I would also have had that more info be a pop-up modal and not jog somebody down the page, especially on mobile. While we're on the product page, can I share a different one? Because it raises some interesting questions that aren't covered here. So let's see here. Share screen.
Real quick, I had a question before I forget. You mentioned the important sales headlines and the important information, like the bullet points, to move those up on the page. If we did that, then we would move down the add to cart button or some other important information. Is there a specific spot you would recommend putting it?
Yeah, you can make it fit. That was already one of my recommendations, but you should have a summary description or some of the important points, probably right below the where the price is, above the size selection or something like that.
So, so the first thing is I obviously added something to the cart, and I know that I see where someplace else in our notes in the prior conversation, we talked about the countdown for your free shipping. It's way up here. It's real tiny. Not only is it super easy to miss, but it's also taking an already too big header and driving everything else down, which like I said, this is weird. The card is, you know, per Gutenberg visuals, the diagram, it really should be in the top right corner because that's where people expect to look for it. I also see this one's got a red price. Where the other one had a black price. If this is a sale price, there's no indication that that's a sale price, you know, like the original price in a savings and a cross through. I think these container boxes are too big, which is one more way you can probably recover some space, maybe doing away with the break line. This is a pet peeve for me. I know on all the BigCommerce stupid themes, they do this as a default. And the add to cart button, whatever you want people to do should be on the right. That's just a design, a core design principle. And you don't really want, especially plants are seasonal. If you're going to offer the wish list, make it a small text link and make this add to cart full width and pretty and stand out. And again, that's another way of bringing some of this content further up the page. So. And one of the ones I looked at, it listed the free warranty, but it didn't have the option for the paid warranty. And so here it was free. And then when I came down to this page, I see extra purchase required, and it wasn't even an option on the page. So I think that goes to the earlier discussion about proofreading. So, you know, because I'm sure that was just an oversight.
It could have been an annual as well, so we can't give a 1 year warranty on an annual, or we would be out of business in 1 year.
It was the grape lantana. That's where I found it.
Okay.
So,
so I actually just bought flowers this weekend and planted one of my beds. So I actually kind of know what I'm dealing with here for once. And actually I'm a target market. And I actually never thought about buying plants online. It was kind of like, whoa.
Same here. Everything you just said, Justin, same here.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that like I was expecting on the page of like, as a buyer, I have a lot of concerns about shipping and getting like, I think you're trying to address that through the warranty, which is an interesting way to address it in a good way. But like, I have a lot of concerns, like what kind of condition is this going to come in? How is it going to come? How is it going to stay fresh? How how of the shipping needs a little more like detailed, because that's like shipping anything to Texas in a summer heat. I'm just like, oh shit, like sounds terrible. But I'm sure you have it solved. I know you have it solved because you've been doing this for a while. So explain what that, like, wait, the how of shipping needs some explanation.
It does.
On the page. Like, and it doesn't have to be at the top. I think simply a button that says, yeah, we know how to ship plants. And then that takes me to the explanation. Whatever, however you want to do it. I think a modal is great. I think, but shipping is definitely a concern. It's like, why should I buy from you versus going to Home Depot is like another concern that you might want to address. Because like, I know Home Depot's plants are shit. I know that, but they're cheap. And I don't have their plants in front of me to price compare, but like looking a little, I was like, that kind of feels expensive what you guys are offering, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, why the why of you guys, I think someone already hit this, needs to be addressed as well.
Okay.
But the shipping was really my biggest, like, because I need more rosemary. I planted 3. My local garden was the only place that had any. Like, I went to 3 other garden stores, they didn't have any. I need more. It was $50 for 3 of these little guys. Like, that's too expensive. MFR. So I looked at your site, but then I was like, is this going to arrive well? Like, what kind of condition? So, like, and I know there's a warranty, but that doesn't do it for me because it sounds like a pain in the ass.
Nobody wants to deal with a warranty. Yeah.
Just something as simple as like guaranteed fresh and fragrant on arrival, you know, like a big seal or a line or something, you know. Okay. I agree. And then you could even have a link like see our shipping process, because I think Justin is so right. Like, we're getting to the point now where we're literally like considering using your services, and that's the best thing you can ever do is put your, and which is probably the hardest thing to do when you're the business owner, is put yourself in your customer's shoes and see things anew. Like, I had a question. I was thinking about the containers. Like, what are they made out of? Are these just those cheap plastic containers that you recycle, or are these like, you know, something that you would keep and hold on to? You know, I don't see anything related to, you know, that. So I would definitely get something like that up there as well.
You may also want to be cross-selling some containers on products where it makes sense. Yeah. And actually, I want to show you something before I forget, because this was something that at the time made me go, let's see here. Okay, you can see it now? Okay, so the first thing, remember I said we don't want click-offs or ads on these pages. I wouldn't even put them on your content pages, but this is a product page, dude. And it's like, okay, I'm going to go to Capital One now. I'm going to click off your site to get a code that isn't even going to fit for this site. The other one that kind of blew my mind is you've got this click to Google, but because you're using, and I thought at the enterprise level that BigCommerce would actually feed those review stars out, but maybe because they're not store reviews, we really need to get you on a better review platform. But I don't see a Google My Business page here, and maybe if you're not local, that doesn't necessarily but there's no stars. You're telling me there's 59 positive reviews. I just clicked off your site, so I'm not even on your site anymore, and there's nothing there. So, like, I would hide that until you get the rest of it.
Does that happen to other people too? Does that happen to you other guys as well? Because that's definitely not what we see, but that's really good to know, because it's happening to you, it's happening to everyone else.
Yep. Same for me.
So it must be a localized thing.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's a great call out. Thank you.
Yeah, I was like, oh! And you probably have way more great reviews than 59 anyway. We'll have to see if you qualify for the Google custom trusted stores, or whatever the heck they call it, because you have access to that program, but you have to have 150 reviews before they'll show it. But you could still sign up as long as you can meet their shipping deadlines, and then accumulate them now for future reference, so you will have the nice little Google thing that sits over here in the corner.
Yeah, in the past we weren't eligible because we can't meet the shipping because of pre-orders. Right. I don't know if that's changed.
That's what I'm saying. I have to look at. I have to look at the rules, and the pre-orders may preclude that being a good idea. So.
And we are still on the pro plan right now, but I think that's going to change very soon.
I saw your numbers. If they haven't called you, just consider yourself lucky. But there's some things like we can get you into the custom filtering once you bump, and you can get you out of fresh click, which you said you're not real happy with, and really get that moving correctly for you.
I would consider maybe one of the best things you can do, going back to the shipping thing, because I really think Justin, he really nailed it. Like, that's the biggest barrier to entry for me, is I just don't see how these can be shipped without being damaged. Like, it seems impossible. So I'd like to ask you to explain that in a second. I'm just curious. And then maybe, consider making like a collage, an unboxing collage or an unboxing video, and having that somewhere on the page, because I think that will do a lot to help build trust.
Even a nice little seal that says you guarantee the plants arrive in good condition.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
You'll delay shipping if there's extreme heat. Can you tell us a little more about your shipping process? Your packaging process, I should say.
Richard, you want to go walk into that?
Yeah, so we work with a couple of different places, and they're both pretty close to being the same. But yeah, I mean, they're really just packaged into a box. Depending on how many are in a order, they separate them out, whether it's maybe 4 plants in a box, 1 plant in a box, 12 plants in a box, depending on the size. They will box those up with little separators out, and put some wrap around them too, so it keeps the soil in there. And then we ship with FedEx ground. So it takes anywhere from like, I don't know, a day to like 5-6 days to get arrive. And then we send out a email with tracking information so the customers can track it. So if it arrives on their porch, it's not sitting there for an extra day or two. And then we have some email follow-up after it ships. I think, is it a day or two? We say, hey, your plants are on the way. Don't forget to water them. We have like an email chain to kind of help them along, make sure that they don't kill their plants. It helps us and them.
Yep. So
how do you keep the soil from spilling?
Yeah. So sorry, my camera messes up every once in a while.
One of them.
Go ahead.
The larger pots are wrapped in plastic. The container is. The plastics go around the pot and the container and the soil up to the plant, the base of the plant. So that keeps the soil in that way. And then they also, in the bigger plants, they put like a stick in there so it doesn't like bounce around back and forth if it gets upside down. So that's the bigger plants. The smaller plants, they wrap in some like paper wrapping to help keep them all in place and keep the soil in there.
If you go to our shipping page in the footer, it has some pictures about the different kinds of ways we're shipping them out. And then timing is also critical. So we don't ship out at the end of the week. We only ship out at the beginning of the week, so it doesn't sit in a truck over the weekend. And a lot of the times it'll die because it's just a FedEx truck sitting there parked and it gets too hot. And then we ship out according to growing zones in the winter. In the spring. So we start with Texas and work our way up north each week as it gets safer and safer to ship.
Cool.
Every once in a while in the summer, we do put a pause on all shipping if it's too hot across the country. So like mid-July, early August, those kind of we'll sometimes look at the national weather and have to pause for a couple weeks.
Are you using Shipper HQ so you can vary that regionally? Because it may be fine to ship to Seattle from where you're at, where it might not be okay to ship to El Paso.
No, we don't have any type of shipping platform at all. We need to get some type of integration with the people we work with to do that for us. Okay. So we have a big project list of inventory and order management here to do the rest of the year, because a lot of it's just manual uploads right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's the back end. Shipper HQ or Advanced Shipping Manager would handle the front end, which would allow you to. And I think, again, this was a question you guys had asked at one point in one of the Facebook groups. How do you make sure you know, if you've got products, for example, that can't ship into, because I've worked with other plant companies, there are some items, and I don't know if you sell them, that aren't legal in all 50 states or might not be prudent to ship certain times a year, and you can actually control that through front-end software, which has nothing to do with your fulfillment house, but everything to do with what you know, what you charge and what you can actually let your customers buy.
Yeah, usually it's just an on-off switch for shipping across the country because of weather, because it's not just where it's going, it's getting in between the states where it's hot.
Right.
But that is a big concern of ours. So we can't ship like butterfly bushes to Washington because those are considered invasive there. So that's what we're really looking to get, is shutting off specific plants to specific states.
This might be a very dumb question, so forgive me in advance, but would it make sense to use some sort of refrigerated unit to ship plants when it's too hot? Is that even possible?
I think that's how we'll be doing houseplants in the winter, because they can't get too cold. So I think that's what, like, if you've ever heard of the sill, they do that every once in a while. It gets pretty expensive though.
I bet.
Yeah, for sure. But I was thinking also the opposite, when it's too hot in the summer, then you could cool them off.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for the same reason, it would get really pricey to do. I'm not sure. It's a great suggestion, Matt. I'm just not sure how much it would cost to do.
Maybe something you can pass on to the customer. I mean, if there's a heat wave, you could maybe inform them that that's an option, but to get their plants faster, but there's a cost associated to that. I'm just brainstorming here, but yeah.
I would consider, I like your shipping information page, but I would consider maybe making a packaging page, because for me, the shipping is, you know, once it's in a box and shipped, like I understand how things are shipped. It's not an issue of shipping for me. It's packaging.
Okay.
It's how is this thing packaged, right? So for me, I'd make these two separate pages, or create a new page that has just packaging, put that at the very minimum in the footer, and then include that in your description above the fold on every product page, for sure. I mean, for me, I think Justin and I are, you know, in alignment with that. It's the packaging is everything, like, you know, and it's like I said, like, it's, you know, like Justin said, it's like, I've never considered buying a plant online. I've just, in a million years, I don't know why, but like, it's totally viable. I can see that now. You have way more selection. You can buy and this is information, like, this is critical information to you, because I'm having this kind of catharsis right in front of you. And I'm thinking, like, well, you have way more selection. You can buy way more exotic plants you can't find anywhere else, right? You can make sure they're perfect for the area that you're putting them in. You can't do any of this stuff. I can't stand nurseries, Armstrong. It's like, you know, you're lucky if you find someone that's like, you know, this one sage that's worked there for 30 years and he knows everything, right? But it's not the same as like spelling it out for somebody in the order of the thought process. Like, how's it shipped? Is, you know, what zone is it going to be in? You know, does it need shade, partial shade, sun? You know, what's the best time to plant? You know, how many can you plant? Whatever it is, you know. And for me, I think it's such a cool concept. But you're making the assumption that people already, you know, do this, right? So you're kind of marketing to your existing customers. But what you really want is to market to people who maybe have never considered that. So I think all of these things, you know, the packaging, you know, the exotic collection, things you won't find anywhere else, higher quality than nursery, guaranteed freshness on arrival, you know, your guarantee, you know, if the plant dies, all of these things are not something you would get at a nursery at all. And I don't think that there's no part of your entire website that does a good enough job of bringing people into that conversation and saying, hey, this is a superior alternative to the nursery, right? And presenting that concept to them in a very structured way that leads them to the ultimate conclusion, which is, I have to buy something from this place because my garden's going to have way cooler plants than my neighbors, right? So, you know, that's kind of what I'm thinking about the page here. So for me, it's a branding issue and not enough clarity as to what the value is, and then the way the information is presented and structured. those are really the three main things for me on this site.
I think if you could make that packaging video concise and cool enough, and I realize that's a subjective term, that might almost be, down the homepage content in terms of your differentiation is, look at all the effort we're going through to make sure you get your plants in perfect, in perfect condition. And then an ad crossed my head, because of the ice storms, our nurseries have been wiped out. Like, you should be totally, if you geodetect I'm in Texas, you should say, why settle for what's left at the local nursery when we've got, 500 times the plant selection right here, and we guarantee it'll get to you in great shape.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I share my screen too real quick? I would love Matt's help on this. I know he does, he's posted several times about modal pop-ups. On this here, I feel like, this is an opportunity to, going back to what Lori said, this is, remarketing to your existing customers and to the people that are in the awareness or consideration and not the decision phase. They're kind of new to the game here of ordering plants online. I think you could optimize this. First of all, I don't understand, like it says, we'll send, again, you never want to start a sentence with what you're going to do. So get plant information, and again, add some adjectives in there. Get helpful plant information. Get, plant care information, right? Not we'll send. I don't care what you're going to send. I care what I'm going to get, right? Yeah. Garden quotes. What the heck is a garden quote? I have no idea what a garden quote is, right? So you're going to have to rework that, because I've been gardening for a long time and I've never heard of a garden quote. Now, it might be a thing, but I don't know what it is, and there's a strong likelihood that no one else does either, or few people do. And exclusive offers. Well, that's cool, directly to your inbox. I would, maybe even consider offering a lead magnet. You have tons of content on your page. Maybe you have, the pest guide, right? The bug or the plant care guide, or get a free zone map, or whatever it is, like a printed free zone map, or whatever, or get a list of all the plants that grow in your zone, or whatever it is, like something cool and just like a downloadable PDF, and give them more of an incentive to give you the email right away. That could be something to consider. And I'm not a fan of this picture that you're using here. I feel like it makes the font hard to read. And then it's like join plant addicts anonymous for free. Like, I don't understand, what is this anonymous, right? It just says plant addicts. So where's the anonymous? For free? Like, of course it's for free. Like, you don't even see that, right? I mean, like, who would charge to join a newsletter, right? So this is weird. Like, just what you say here is just strange. I would completely rework this headline, get helpful information, directly to your inbox, and then reword this again as a get statement, and then, maybe consider a green CTA.
Okay.
That's all.
Good points. You could have the image separate from the text, right? Like have it on the side and then having the text on one side,
yeah,
as opposed to having it in the background. It makes everything hard to read, for sure.
Okay.
There's a comment here from Mark about the 1, 2, 3 step process. So that's his suggestion here. Pick your plant, then we pack it, and then the shipping.
Yeah, Mark is awesome. You know why? Because he's tuned into the story brand, and when I do my CRO page reworks, I incorporate the story brand. Introduce the hero, or the problem, right? And tell them about the solution. Introduce the guide. That's plant addicts. You're going to guide them through the process of finding something, and then after you introduce the guide, then you tell them what the plan is to fix their problem or make their lives better, or whatever it is, and then you show them how it works. Well, how's the plan work? Well, 1, 2, 3. That's what Mark's saying. Show them how it works. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, and then prove that it works. That's where your packaging comes in. It's like, hey, your plan is packaged like this. Here's the collage. Here's the unboxing video. It's going to get to you healthy and fresh, and it's going to smell amazing, or it's going to look amazing, and it's going to make your neighbors jealous, right? use these kinds of languages. It's that you're selling to humans, right? Then humans are emotional. They don't remember what you say. They remember how you make them feel. And that's why the site for me makes me feel like, I don't trust your company as much as I need to invest. And then after you prove to them, that it works, and then you can, enter the trust trial where you start, having your reviews and these types of things. But I think that's what part of what Mark was saying.
Yeah, makes sense.
Do you have any last questions, comments before we wrap this up? We've been going for an hour and 10 minutes, which is great, but I want to respect your time as well.
Yeah, I did have a question on our product results lists. We have quite a bit of information on those right now, and I wanted to get your thoughts on what you would recommend we have and don't have, just to help people shop. And then maybe even the order of the information that we show. I can share my screen if somebody else wants to as well.
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, give me 1 second.
There we go.
So right now we have reviews, which are pretty hard to see. Growing zones, which I think it is helpful to shop this way to see this if you're looking just at a result list to see, hey, this will work for my area or not. Brand, it's important to some people. Other people have no idea what that is, what these brands are. So there's like Proven Winners, Endless Summer, Encore Azalea. Those are pretty well known, but not for beginners. Name and then price. It's not the greatest, so I didn't know what everyone would recommend on this panel on how to structure this.
Good question.
I like your filtration process, actually. I like how you have the filters over on the left, and I think that's really helpful. As far as the prices go, I don't know. I don't have any input on this. Matt, what about you?
Yeah, the one thing I was going to say is, and that's something I wrote down, but the star rating is not there, but you only have, the number of reviews. So you have the star rating, just it shows sort of what it is. I mean, that should say 4 stars, 4.0, and then the number of reviews. And I understand that you don't have a lot of reviews on most of these products yet,
yeah.
But if you do have a few reviews, I think you should show what the rating is and the number of reviews, and then of course darker stars so we can actually see them. They're really too yellow right now, so there should be a little bit more brown or a little bit more contrasting there. So when it says as low as, is it because it's depending on the size that you choose?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't think the brand is adding a lot to it either. And I also think that the on hover, this stuff gets so light. Turn off the quick view. But I think that if you modify this, well, first of all, it's like, I clicked on bushes, so I have an enormous amount of stuff before I ever get to products. And usually people expect to see the products real quickly, and I didn't have the chance to look at you on a phone. I apologize, because that may even be tougher. But I think that you can find a better way to designate zone that's more visual, or like I said, if you're starting them out by zone, then things should just filter to where they need to be. So you could have like a little emblem that says zone 2, but I could see that being a problem when you have multiple zones. So I think, yeah, I think that if you direct people through the zone first and you continue like you have, where the growing zone is your first filter, you probably don't have to have it there.
Okay.
I mean, that's a testable premise, to be honest with you.
Lori, do you know on the facets, if someone goes to, let's say it's a zone 6 facet, is on that Zone 6 faceted page, does the header go away? Is it a new page, or does that still stay there?
With the native.
I'm just curious here. So, because this filter is, I mean, it looks to me like it leaves you on the full page, and I think that's normally what it's going to do unless you're in search on the search page, which is a whole other story. I mean, your product tiles don't even match. Also, I guess I should tell you, this is, you know, it feels like small, but when I went to search earlier so I could see what your search result page looked like, I clicked on the growing zone. And I know what I'm doing. I mean, and it confused me. I'm clicking up here and they went, oh yeah, that's not the search bar. But see, like your search results page is free of that header. So, because I just searched purple. So, I mean, like if you could do like zone 6 as a search result, and that would take you off the other category page. Is this a third-party search that it doesn't match your original tiles?
Yeah.
Yeah. You notice it's got a lot of what Matt was talking about already present.
Yeah, it does.
I think the page has a much better experience on mobile. It looks pretty good on mobile. I don't see some of the strange formatting and overall lack of cohesive branding on the mobile. So that's really good, guys. And I mean, what an accomplishment! How long have you been building this company again?
We started in 2017 just part-time, and then we just started full-time last fall.
That's insane. That's amazing. You started from zero, or did you buy a domain, a business, or what?
We bought a blog that talked about hydrangeas, but it wasn't e-commerce. It was just like a plant care blog.
Still, that's pretty cool. Pretty amazing.
By the way, I mean, I realize the point of this session is to sort of nitpick it, but your photography is stunning. I think you need some more kudos, because overall, well, again, we're looking for the things that can improve. You've actually done a great job.
Yeah, you really have. There's still, always room. For me, I'm not a fan of your tagline. And this must be really hard to hear. Hopefully, it's we're not trying to attack you, but it's
nope, not at all.
A garden is never complete. Like that does not position you. It's so vague. Like, what does that even mean? Like, are you trying to subliminally convince me that I need more plants? Like,
keep shopping from us.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't know. For me, what you want as your tagline is something like, and this, this is part of your branding, is something like, exotic plants you won't find anywhere else, or something like that, right? The world's largest selection of plants, or the most unique curation of flowers, or what I mean? Just, it's something you want to brainstorm, but you want to get into people's heads and really make them feel that there's something special about Plant Addicts, and I just don't see that, and it's unfortunate, because I know you guys have put so much work into this, but yeah, but yeah, the site looks better on mobile. I'm going through it. Definitely a much better experience on mobile.
The best yard on the block. I mean, that's what you're selling, is the best yard on the block.
Yeah, I like that.
That's right. That's exactly it. There's your tagline. The best yard on the block, for the best yard on the block.
In my head, I had the Griswold Christmas movie where they're trying to outdo each other with Christmas decorations. And darn well, in some neighborhoods, that's exactly what the neighbors are trying to do with their yard. Oh, yeah. And you want to deliver it, dude.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and you're not going to hurt our feelings. That's why we're here. So thank you for all the direct and great information on this. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
It's so cool that Matt organizes these things. I mean, you're getting so much value here in such a short period of time. It must be just hard to take a step back and say, okay, what are we going to do first? But I really feel like it starts with your branding. You know, you need a branding package. You guys are a big deal. Like, you know, 60K monthly traffic, organic traffic value, 52K. Wow. I mean, that's spectacular. But yeah, you know, 0.2% is not the best conversion rate. You could definitely double that. There's no question about it.
Look at Mark's suggestion.
Detox 7.
Well, it actually, it just occurred to me that the brand name could actually mean something else. Different type of addiction.
What have you been asked about that several times? It needs to be a federal law, though, before you could take credit cards.
Yeah, no, I was thinking earlier, you know, a year ago, to create a heavenly space to ride out the pandemic might have been a fun catchphrase, but hopefully we'll be out of that soon.
Yeah.
So,
in a few years.
Only in Canada.
Yeah, we're stuck with it for a few years. Yeah.
What's your average order size, guys?
It's around $108.
Nice.
So I guess it doesn't make sense to do a Sezzle or Afterpay. There's just people can generally pay that, right?
Yeah.
I would argue against that, actually. I think even for small amounts, small order values, Afterpay or third-party payment plans still make sense because people just plan out their purchases. It's not so much about what they can afford to pay. It's more about the benefits that service provides them. So I would actually consider, if you're not already, I don't think you're already offering that, but if you're not, seriously consider offering a third-party payment plan.
I agree. I signed up for PayPal, like it was like $2,500. I got a $2,500 PayPal loan, 6 months interest free. Like I put it in crypto, I've doubled my money. You know, it's
nice.
Like, but yeah, it seems like it might
bump the average order.
Yeah, thank you. Took the words out of my mouth.
I knew you were trying.
Yeah.
Lori, is there some good ones that integrate with BigCommerce already?
There's quite a few of them, and check their rates. Afterpay is kind of like, I think it's 4 payments. In fact, PayPal has Pay Later, which is their new one, where the customer basically can split it into 4 payments with no interest charge. Sezzle is a little bit longer term financing, and they take 6%. So you really want to take a look at that. You can. I mean, PayPal has their pay, whatever they call it, too. They have 2. They have their credit and their PayPal credit, and they have the Pay Later. And you know, the funny thing is I don't get the metrics on that, so I have no idea how good the adoption are on those versus something like Affirm, which has a brand name recognition, or Sezzle.
I love how you guys have the gift card too. I would consider making a whole section on your homepage for that. Like, hey, you know, looking for a unique gift, give the gift of, you know, a gorgeous plant or a flower. You know, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I think we all have to get back to work.
Yeah, we got a lot of work to do on our side.
This was just the fun part. We have to get back to work now. Just last comment from Mark. I'll let you read that.
There's a, by the way, I did a quick Ahrefs keyword search. Gifts for plant lovers, 6,200 searches a month. And plant gifts, 1,700 searches a month.
Nice.
And low difficulty. I don't know if you've written an article about it, but it might at least make a good article.
No, when we write stuff, it ranks usually pretty well. We have pretty good authority.
No doubt. And you guys are killing it. Yeah. Do you do guest posts?
We get so many people reaching out all the time, and it's always, we don't even.
We have a client in the gardening space. They sell gardening products, you know, weed killers and pesticides and nutrients and stuff like that. And we've written some outstanding content for them. And we're always looking for, you know, good opportunities at high authority sites.
Yeah. Yes. Email us.
Cool.
We can figure something out for you.
All right, guys, thank you so much for doing this. I think these provide a ton of value for the brand, but also it's an opportunity for the panelists to shine very brightly. So, you know, Lori, Robert, Justin, who had to leave, thank you so much for helping out Chris and Richard. And Chris and Richard, keep rocking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye. Nice to meet you guys, and thanks,
Yep.
Matt. Bye, Lori.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so
Bye-bye,
much, everyone. I
everybody.
really appreciate your time. Thank
Have a
you.
great day.
Take care.
Pleasure.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.